that? Amazing. Hey everyone, Digital David here. Today in this video, I'm going to be checking out the Mech Hero by ZOTAC Gaming, specifically the Mech Hero G3 gaming desktop. Model number is A7646 if you're interested. ZOTAC is sponsoring today's video, and I want you to know that any opinion expressed in this video is strictly my own. That being said, if you're interested in this product or you want to find out more about it, the link to it will be in the video description. Here's a look at the retail box and packaging. You'll notice on the side, what's really cool is we have our Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie graphics right here. This is a collaboration between ZOTAC Gaming and the Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse movie. Now let's go ahead, let's open this up and look at the contents. Here's a look at all the accessories. You'll notice we have a ton of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse themed accessories here. A lot of stickers and emblems. You'll see 3 minifigures that come in this really nice box. So take a look at the packaging of those minifigures. Really cool. You can learn more about them on the back side right there. You'll also see that we got a tote bag. We did get a couple PC accessories here that you would expect: power cord, Wi-Fi antennas. I wanted to show you the minifigures up close. Removable back there, removable stand comes with them. Color-coded and matched. Really nice detail there. They look really cool to have on display in or on your PC. I'm thinking that's going to be a good idea. So cool. So really nice minifigures. Now let's look at the PC. Here's your first look at the PC. You may notice that they did ship this with care. So they did put an internal airbag in there to keep everything from moving around or getting damaged during the shipping process. That's always encouraging to see. Now let's look at this thing up close. Looking at the computer from the top, you'll see we have a removable magnetic dust cover. We also have all of our I/O front and center for us. Mic jack, headphone jack, 3 USB ports, reset button, and we have our power button with our indicator lights. Looking at the front of the PC here, you'll see our solid white panel with our Mech Hero branding. And down at the bottom, we do have a grip handle so you can remove the front cover. Now you're looking at the front panel with the cover removed, looking at our 3 120mm RGB fans. Also want to show you the inside of the front panel here. You'll notice too, we have mesh on both sides for our venting and airflow. Making our way around the PC, now you're seeing the very bottom. There's that handle for the front panel. 4 nice feet with a good amount of clearance between the bottom to give some airflow for your power supply fan here. Now we're looking at the back side. You'll see we have our exhaust fan, motherboard I/O, GPU and expansion slots, and our power supply down at the bottom with our toggle on and off switch. Here's a look at the back side. You'll see our mesh airflow from the front panel and a solid white back side panel. Now you're looking at the back with the panel removed. They did such a nice job cable managing everything here. Everything's zip tied, nice, neat. Everything's in order, easily accessible. Room for some 3.5-inch drives down below, 2.5-inch SSD drives right here. Really nice, clean build. Now let's look at the front of our case with our tempered glass side panel on hinges with a nice magnet to have it snap and close in place. Look at that, beautiful hinge, opens right up. We can see everything inside. Inside, you'll find premium parts and components from well-known and name brand companies. So we got our ZOTAC RTX 4060 GPU, the highlight of this build. I see some Kingston Fury DDR5, 16 gigabytes. We have our AMD Ryzen 5 7600 CPU. I see right down in here a Seagate 1 terabyte NVMe SSD. We have our 600 watt power supply here too. Everything looks really nice, neat, tidy. They did a great job assembling everything for us. Now let's go ahead, let's plug it in and power it on. All right, so the PC booted up great. We're rocking Windows 11. Upon first boot, you will be greeted with the Windows 11 setup screen. Also want to point out with our 1 terabyte SSD that's included, 919 gigabytes are usable, of which we'll have 885 gigabytes left. We have not installed anything yet, so I wanted to show you that so you could see right out of the box what you can expect. We're also rocking the AMD Ryzen 5 7600 CPU, as well as our ZOTAC Gaming RTX 4060 for our GPU. In regard to downloaded apps, you'll see our pinned apps right here. You'll notice like Prime Video, Kindle, Spotify, WhatsApp, Netflix, Instagram, Clips Champ video editor, Facebook Messenger. Searching all the apps, you'll see some stuff from AMD, Nvidia. Just about everything else, though, is going to be your typical Microsoft app. Couple trials, things like that. No major bloatware or anything along those lines, which is great. All right, now let's get to the good stuff. Let's see how this computer performs. So first up, we tested the 1TB SSD. You'll see using Crystal Disk Mark, we got about 2,500 megabytes per second for our read and almost 1,800 megabytes per second for our write speeds. ASSSD giving us results similar but lower as expected. Read speeds of about 2,100 megabytes per second and write speeds of about 1,500 megabytes per second. Well within range for Gen 3 speeds with this drive. Moving right along to the CPU, we have CPU Z pulled up right here, and you'll see a lot of information on our AMD Ryzen 5 7600. Feel free to pause the screen. Next, we have our motherboard, ASRock B650M-C. And let's move along to our bench results here. 708.5 for our single thread score and 5839.7 for our multi-thread. Our score of around 700 puts us right in between the 12500 and the 12700H, which is slightly below the 12700 CPU series, but above the 5950X, 5900X, and you'll see a couple 12 series CPUs like the 12400 and the 12100. For the multi-thread, we'll be right towards the top right here, so 5800 right below the 7600X, basically our sister CPU, above the 12600K, 12500s, 12400s, 5600X, 11 series CPUs, you get the idea. Using Cinebench R23, you'll see our multi-core score here of 1364.1 and our single core score of 1841. So thanks to the exhaustive list from nanoreview.net, you'll see where those benchmarking results place us right around 99. So you'll see what's interesting, the M2 Pro's up here at 88, 11700 series CPUs, Ryzen 7 5800X 3D at 94. We're above the 10900X, the 5800, 5700X. So pretty solid class of CPUs right here. Geekbench 6 results are in. You'll see we got a single core score of 2727 and a multi-core score of 1164.3. Compared to the competition for our single core score, you'll see right here where we finished. So above the 12900, 13600K, 13700, 12900K, we place above a lot of fantastic Intel CPUs and slightly below the 7700 as you'd expect, 7900, you get the idea. So take a look at that. Also want to point out you'll see our score of the 7600X variant right there. So definitely towards the top in single core performance. Multi-thread score tells a similar story, but we're following further down the pack. You'll see us right here. So we'll be below the 5950X, the 13500, the 7600X, the 12900, 13600. So we're trading blows with a lot of the same CPUs with our single core versus multi-core scores here. We are above the 5900X. And the 12600KF. Now let's talk about temps. You'll see we have all the panels on here. The PC's at a nice idle. We're showing about 36 degrees Celsius for our CPU temps and around 34 degrees Celsius for our GPU temps. Now we're gonna max everything out under full load and see how hot it gets. Now we have everything under a full load. Let's take a look at the temps. You'll see our CPU's right around 75 degrees Celsius with the max well within that range, around 75, 76. And you'll see our GPU's fluctuating between 65 and 67 degrees Celsius, and that's right where its max has been. We peaked at 68 degrees Celsius. Want to point out too, what's nice is this is stressing out the power supply as well. So you'll see that everything's stable, no power issues, errors, or anything like that. So the CPU, GPU maxed out under full load, working great. So is the power supply. So if you really want to stress a system like this, you'll be in good shape. Now it's time for my favorite test. This is the smoke test, just to give you a nice visualizer of the airflow. The cool air is going to come in through the sides of your front panel and exhaust out the top and the back, just like this. Look at that. How awesome is that? Also, I'll show you too. Pay attention, I'm going to zap some smoke here, and you'll be able to then see that those fans are able to pull that air, smoke in this case, in. So you'll get a feel for that airflow there as some of that puffs out just really gently. You see it picking it up. Might be hard to capture on camera, but if you're here in person, just puffing some of that smoke out really gently, and it's flowing. There's a nice pull here, bringing all of that cool air in. You can see that. Just pulls it right in. It's moving a lot of air around here. Bringing it in, and then it's exhausting out as nice, warm air. Let's have some fun. We're gonna let it rip again. Look at that. Amazing. Amazing. And now it's thermal cam time. We got the FLIR camera out. Take a look at these temps. You'll see the hot spots in here. Everywhere you'd expect. Here's the motherboard. Probably our hottest spots right about here. And then our GPU. You'll see our hot spots there. Looking pretty good. And then you'll see the backside here with our exhaust fan. Motherboard, I/O shields doing its job, nice and cool there. GPU. And then our power supply right down there at the bottom. Now the moment you've all been waiting for, let's talk about gaming. For our benchmarks, we're going to be comparing the ZOTAC Gaming RTX 4060 with the ZOTAC Gaming RTX 4060 Ti and the ZOTAC Gaming RTX 4070. First up, in regards to price, you'll see the 4060 is our most affordable option. In the middle, we have the 4060 Ti, and up at the top, our highest, most expensive GPU out of the three tested is the 4070. Next, let's talk about VRAM. So this is going to be either GDDR6 or GDDR6X. I want to mention that the 4060 and the 4060 Ti are the GDDR6 versions, both coming in at 8 gigabytes, where the 4070 comes in at 12 gigabytes and it's GDDR6X. And I believe that's going to be a more power efficient RAM. That means we can move more data, which means it's going to consume more power. So if I fully understand that, you have basically a higher performance RAM that's more energy efficient, so you can move more data, but in turn, since you're moving more data, you're consuming more power. Next, we have our boost clock. This is measured in megahertz. The 4060 and 4060 Ti both have 128-bit bus. Very similar in clock speeds across the board for all three models. You'll notice that the 4060 Ti actually has the highest boost clock here, but I do want to point out with the 4070 having that 192-bit bus, from my limited understanding, that's like having more lanes on an expressway for the data to flow through, so that's why you'll see better performance at a lower clock speed than the 4060 and 4060 Ti's. CUDA cores is something else on a GPU that typically the more the merrier. You'll want to see that higher number with your GPU to get better performance. So 4060 to 4060 Ti, you jump about 1400 CUDA cores, and same thing again when we go up from the 4060 Ti to the 4070. Next, let's move right along to our gameplay results. So for these tests, we compared all the cards at 1080p and 1440p with some popular titles available to play today. That's going to be the optimal settings and resolutions you would want with all three of these cards. We always used the highest setting possible without doing any sort of custom tweaking, and we always turned off RTX and DLSS and everything else that makes these cards special, so you can just get a nice baseline feel for the performance that you can compare to other cards, maybe AMD cards, things like that. So here's the results that we get. Forza 5 1080p Extreme, 109 average FPS for the 4060, 125 average FPS for the 4060 Ti, and 155 average FPS for the 4070. 1440p shows similar results here. 89 FPS for the 4060, 106 FPS for the 4060 Ti, and 131 FPS for the 4070. Next up is Rainbow 6 1080p Ultra. You'll see 4060 coming in average FPS of 174, 210 for the 4060 Ti, and 272 for the 4070. So pretty nice large leap for this game between the 4060 Ti and the 4070. Rainbow 6 at 1440p, similar results here. 4060 coming in at 111 FPS, followed by the Ti at 140 and 178 for our 4070. Assassin's Creed Valhalla 1080p ultra high settings. 4060 coming in at an average FPS of 116. We have the Ti coming in at an average FPS of 124, and we're starting to see some more of that separation for the 4070 coming in at 154. 1440p seems to narrow the gap a little bit with all three cards. So 4060 coming in at 86 FPS, followed by 91 for the Ti and 116 for the 4070. Far Cry 6 Ultra, this one was the most unusual result. So at 1080p, we're very almost dead even across the board. 116 average FPS for the 4060, and then we have matching average FPS values for both the 4060 Ti and the 4070. We get some more separation though at the 1440p settings. You'll see 85 FPS for a 4060, 99 for the Ti, and 112 for the 4070. Borderlands 3 with your 1080p bad settings here. 4060s coming in at 92 average FPS, followed by 116 for the Ti, and then 131 for the 4070. 1440p showing us 63 FPS for our average for the 4060, followed by 84 for the Ti and 107 for our 4070. So I really want to make it easy to try to present all this information in a way that's digestible, so I thought we'd look at the average FPS percent change. What do I mean by that? Well, I'm no scientist or data expert, but basically I took all the averages of all the different tests that we ran, and I wanted to see the percent change as we increase in model. So the 4060 is going to be your baseline. If you upgrade it to the 4060 Ti, you could expect on average around 17% average FPS increase. And for the 4070, jumping up from the 4060, you can expect around a 42% average FPS increase. Now, from the 4060 Ti to the 4070, you'll see that jumps up around 21%. So again, you might be saying, well, what does that mean? Well, I wanted to show you it in a different way. So in regards to price per GPU, again, 4060 is going to be the baseline there. You have a 27% increase in price to the 4060 Ti. And with the 4060 at the baseline, you have a 108% increase in price for the 4070 if you're upgrading from the 4060. Now from the 4060 Ti to the 4070, you'll see we have an increase in price of 63%. So let me refresh your memory here. We basically have a 17% performance boost for the 4060 Ti at a 27% price increase, and we have a 42% average FPS boost at 108% price increase. So it really comes down to what do you value most and how much are you willing to pay for it? Now let me share with you my final thoughts after using this Mech Hero gaming PC. Here's what I want to say. First, I'm impressed with the build quality. Everything works great. It looks great. Cable management's top notch. They did a wonderful job. And they didn't skimp on the parts and components. They got them from reputable name brands, and they gave us Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.2, 2.5 gig LAN, DDR5, 4000 series, our RTX 4060 ZOTAC gaming GPU. So we're getting some of the latest and greatest tech out there, which is awesome. Also, the Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse movie accessories are really cool and a nice touch. If you guys are a big fan of that movie, then that's probably why you're looking at this build, and you'll appreciate having the graphics, the stickers, and the mini figures. Now, along that line, I do want to point out I've had the privilege of reviewing their other two models of this PC that has the 4060 Ti and the 4070, and those ones come with this really cool backplate for your GPU. I feel like that's a big miss that this one does not come with that as an accessory by default, because that's really a nice touch to the build. So I want to see them include this in the future for this one as well. But overall, performs great, looks great, and I gotta say, if I'm really being critical on it, maybe the fans are a little bit loud when you're running this at full blast. Not sure how often you guys will be doing that. And obviously no PC is completely quiet, but those fans will spin up when you're pushing this thing to the limit.